Good afternoon. My name is Marina Rodriguez. I'm a volunteer from the organization the Caregivercare. And here I am with the filmmaker Emmanuel Cesta. And I'm very happy to be here and to help you on any way that I can. We are here in el restaurant El Brigante, and we are very grateful and thankful to them for allowing us to film the preparation of these dishes. We are here in el restaurante El Brigante uh, with the chef Rigo. Nice to meet you, Rigo. And we are going to start this wonderful journey of preparing two dishes. So let's start with the first one, which is the
Farfalle primavera.
farfalle primavera. So what is it that you will do first?
First, I put the pasta in the water.
Okay, so you are going to put it to cook the pasta. Mhm. Okay, so for how long?
15 minutos.
For 15 minutes. I just wanted to emphasize that you should be very careful when you are dealing with hot boiling water. Okay, so and meanwhile, what is it that you are doing?
I cook the vegetable, mixed vegetable.
Okay, mix the vegetable.
Cauliflower.
So what are you using? Broccoli,
Broccoli,
cauliflower,
string beans,
and string beans,
and cherry tomato.
and cherry tomatoes. And also remember that when you are using a knife, you have to be also very, very careful, no? No, for you not to cut your fingers. And what are you going to do now?
Chicken broth.
Chicken broth. Ooh.
Ahora cooking 8 minutes.
So now you will cook it for 10 minutes. Okay. So basically, it will take like altogether to finish the dish 15 minutes, right?
Yeah. The pasta done.
Okay, it's done? Okay.
Parsley.
What is that?
Parsley.
Oh, parsley.
Parmesan cheese.
Parmesan cheese. Oh, it looks delicious already. I mean, you don't have to be Italian to prepare these wonderful Italian dishes. Um, Rigo is from Mexico, and there you have it, like that. Okay, this is the final product. It looks super good. And now we are going to start to prepare the swordfish. Okay, my dear friend. So what is it that we are doing now? Okay, so he's
piece.
going to, well, to cut the fish. In
One portion.
Okay, one portion. Oh, and you take the skin out.
Like the skin out.
Okay. Again, as you can see, he's using a very sharp knife, And when you decided to try to make this dish, please be very, very careful with the knife.
Yeah, con parsley,
Okay, so he's putting
salt,
parsley, salt. What is that?
black pepper,
Pepper, black pepper,
chopped garlic,
and chopped
garlic.
garlic. Okay, and what is that?
Regular oil.
Regular oil. So just regular oil. It's not olive oil.
No,
No,
olive oil.
no olive oil. Okay,
And rosemary.
and rosemary. That's what it gives the flavor and the smell. Okay, so you just marinate it. You flip it, I guess a few times, right? And then what do?
I put in the grill.
You put it in the grill. Uh-huh. And what is it that you are doing now?
I put the potatoes in the oven.
You put the potatoes on the oven. Uh-huh. For how long?
2 or 3
2 or
minutes.
3 minutes. And the fish,
This is 7, 8 minutes.
7 to 8 minutes altogether. Now you're going to flip it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and what are you going to do now?
This for the on the top the fish.
On top of the fish. And what is that?
This is chopped tomato, onion.
Chopped tomato with onion.
Yeah. 1 touch of lemon and lemon juice and olive oil.
1 touch of lemon juice and olive oil.
Virgin olive oil.
Virgin olive oil. Okay. So we are almost ready, right? Okay. And now we have the, wow, it really looks good. Good and healthy. Okay. Oh, and the roasted potatoes, right. And,
On the
and,
top,
and
chopped tomatoes, onion.
right, that's the final ingredient, right?
Lemon.
Okay. So it add lemon and parsley.
That's it.
That's it. So, just, take a look at the final product. I wanted to emphasize how easy it was to prepare, and especially that it is very healthy. I just wanted to thank you, Rigo. Thank you very much for your amazing work and the demonstration that you did. Thank you.
Tracy, we know that a diet that's filled with fruits and vegetables is good for our waistline, but it's proving to be good for our brain as well. A recent study published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease showed that people with normal cognitive function who followed a Mediterranean diet had lower amyloid deposits in the brain.
As we've learned before on this program, amyloid deposits in the brain are one hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. And here to discuss is the lead author of the paper, Mayo Clinic epidemiologist Dr. Maria Vasilaki. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
What's good for the body is good for the brain? Is that what we're saying?
This is what we think. There is accumulating evidence suggesting that diet has a beneficial effect for the brain too, and for against cognitive decline and dementia as well, although we don't have definite evidence for that, but there is a good body of literature supporting that.
Is that what prompted you to do the study?
Yes, in the Mayo Clinic study of aging, we are studying cognitive decline and also biomarkers of Alzheimer's disease. So one of them would be the amyloid deposition in the brain, and we had the scans and the data to study that and study the association with diet.
So when we talk about amyloid deposition in the brain, amyloid is, as I recall, it's been a while, a protein, right?
Yes.
And we knew from autopsy studies that patients who had Alzheimer's disease before they died had these deposits of amyloid for whatever reason. So there's an association between the two. And now, if I'm correct, we can actually detect those amyloid deposits on an MRI scan.
Correct. We detect them in for example, in a PET scan. So we introduce some molecules through the blood, and they go and highlight areas of amyloid deposition. So we have the scans, and we know the areas where we have elevated amyloid.
And you said that you studied people with normal cognitive function. So how do you determine if somebody's brain is normal and they can be in the study?
Yes. So our participants in the Mayo Clinic study of aging, they go a very comprehensive cognitive evaluation with 9 different neuropsychological tests, and then they are evaluated by a physician as well. We also take information by the informant, their partner, so we have a lot of information, and then by consensus, we gather all the information, and the nurse that helped, or the study coordinator, the physician, and the neuropsychologist, they decide based on data that we have whether someone would be within the normal function range, or someone would have a little more cognitive decline than we would expect for their age, or whether someone would be in the dementia area.
What was the average age of the study participants?
So for this specific study was 70 years and older. So the mean age is about 78 years old. 55% of them were men.
And what did the study show ultimately?
So we asked them about their eating habits the last 12 months. So they had to answer about 128 different questions on the food groups that they were eating, the amount, and also how often they would. And we found that the individuals that were following closer the Mediterranean diet and those that had a higher consumption of vegetables were less likely to have elevated levels of amyloid deposition in the brain. Now, we have to point out that this is a cross-sectional study in our terminology, which means this is like a photograph. We don't have the dimension of time, so we don't know what came first and what came second. So as we say in our area of research, we cannot assess the causality between the two. However, this is information that supports previous information that we know that diet has a beneficial effect. There is also the possibility that another factor could be in place that we haven't measured, that we don't know about it yet. But this is a first sign that our study showed supporting evidence of a beneficial association.
Aside from choosing the right parents, what can somebody do to prevent Alzheimer's, or try to help prevent Alzheimer's?
So the 4 big categories are diet, exercise, sleep, and stress reduction. And I wrote about this in detail in my last book, Super Genes. There's about 6 chapters of details, more than you want to know, about how to adapt your diet to minimize inflammation and plaques. Meaning Mediterranean diet, probiotics, take care of your gut bacteria.
Which probiotics?
Yogurt, a yogurt drink like kefir, or a probiotic pill with live bacteria in it.
But there's so many different ones. There's a million different types. It's like saying take antibiotics.
Well,
which ones?
Yeah, so this
Do we know yet? We don't know
It's a
yet.
hot area right now. There are companies that are looking at what are the best bacteria to put in a probiotic.
And why would that affect, why would what's going on in your gut affect what's going on in your brain?
So it turns out there's what's called a gut-brain axis, where the bacteria in your gut are creating chemicals that interact with your brain that do everything from determine your mood to control how much inflammation there is in your brain.
And even obesity, right? It's amazing what we're learning about these trillions of bacteria that people were saying, oh, wash them out, right? I'm going to get a cleanse. They they're icky.
Idea.
Let's get them out of us. It turns out, of course, millions of years of evolution, they're there for a reason. You don't just wash them out.
And you want to take care of them. They're there to help you. So a Mediterranean diet, more fiber, more fruit, what are called prebiotics. Probiotics meaning If you don't know exactly what probiotic pill to take, at least live culture yogurt. I drink kefir every morning.
So not Sutherland, you mean?
Yeah, no,
kefir,
not Sutherland. Well, he's a great actor, and and then after diet, exercise. And very simply, at least an hour-long brisk walk, or try to get 8,000 to 10,000 steps if you're using a device, and sleep. 8 hours, 7 to 8. After 40 years old, you have to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and try your best to do it, because as you cycle in and out of REM sleep, this is when you clean amyloid plaque out of your brain.
That was one of the most amazing discoveries when I first read about that. You're actually garbage collecting at night. When you're asleep, the toxins get carried out of your brain.
The brain, first of all, the cells that can cause inflammation, when they're behaving, are clearing the plaque. So you want to keep these certain cells in the brain clearing the plaque away and not causing inflammation. During the deep sleep, those cells eat all the plaque, and then the brain literally physically constricts itself and releases the plaque debris, the proteins from the plaque, into the spinal fluid and out of the brain to wash away. It's actually, you can actually see the brain physically constricting after the material has been broken down by the resident cells. And this only happens during delta, slow wave, the deepest sleep that comes in after REM. So you want to be able to cycle in and out of REM several times per night. So it's kind of like a dishwasher on multiple cycles. You want to go in and out to clean the brain as much as you can every night with sleep.
So it's coming down to what our parents told us, right? Eat your fruit and vegetables, get a lot of exercise, get plenty of sleep.
Right.
And then the last thing you said was stress reduction.
Right.
Tell me about that.
Managing stress. It turns out that we just published a study on meditation. We did a trial on how does meditation affect your gene activity, your gene expression, as we call it. We did it with folks at Mount Sinai in New York. And what we found is that with a meditation practice, that there are changes in your gene expression that work against inflammation and that actually create a healthier state. We also see changes in genes that affect the amount of amyloid in your brain during a full 1-week intensive meditation course. So we have meditation instructors, we have novice meditators who are learning, and our control group were people at the same resort who were just hanging out having fun but not learning how to meditate. And there were significant differences in terms of very beneficial gene expression changes in those who are meditating.
One of the biggest fears my patients have is that they might be developing dementia. So how do you distinguish between a senior moment and dementia? I mean, people would kind of flippantly say, you know, if you can't find your car keys, that's one thing. If you find them and don't know what they do, that's another thing. But I always found that a very flip answer. What do you really say to a patient in that situation?
Look, the fact is, as we get older, we don't recall names as well. We can see the face of an actor we know, but can't recall the name as fast. There are changes that happen in the brain, just like there are changes in our muscles. You know, our joints get weaker, our muscles get a bit weaker. So that's why it's so important to work out physically and mentally. You know, stay engaged, learning new things.
Crossword puzzles, learning new language.
I'd like to say, if crossword puzzles help you, if it's the New York Times, it would help you between Friday and Sunday, because you probably have to look something up and learn something new. But it's really learning new things. When you learn something new, you make new synapses, connections between nerve cells, and all learning is based on what you already knew. You always learn by association what you already knew. So not only do you make new synapses, but you strengthen the ones you already have.
Can we, as adults, grow new nerve cells? There is still some confusion about that question, as this is a fairly new field of research. For example, I was talking to one of my colleagues, Robert, who is an oncologist, and he was telling me, Sandrine, this is puzzling. Some of my patients that have been told they are cured of their cancer still develop symptoms of depression. And I responded to him, well, from my point of view, that makes sense. The drug you give to your patients that stops the cancer cells multiplying also stop the newborn neurons being generated in their brain. And then Robert looked at me like I was crazy and said, but Sandrine, these are adult patients. Adults do not grow new nerve cells. And much to his surprise, I said, well, actually, we do. And this is a phenomenon that we call neurogenesis. So now Robert is not a neuroscientist. And when he went to medical school, he was not taught what we know now, that the adult brain can generate new nerve cells. So Robert, being a good doctor he is, wanted to come to my lab to understand a little bit better the topic. And I took him for a tour of one of the most exciting parts of the brain when it comes to neurogenesis. And this is the hippocampus. So this is this gray structure in the center of the brain. And what we know since already very long is that this is important for learning and memory, and mood and emotion. However, what we have learned more recently is that this is one of the unique structures of the adult brain where new neurons can be generated. And if we slice through the hippocampus and zoom in, what you actually see here in blue is a newborn neuron in an adult mouse brain. So when it comes to human brain, my colleague Jonas Friesen from the Karolinska Institute has estimated that we produce 700 new neurons per day in the hippocampus. So you might think this is not much according to the billions of neurons we have, but by the time we will turn 50, we will have all exchanged the neuron we were born with in that structure with adult-born neurons. So why are these new neurons important, and what are their functions? So first, we know that they're important for learning and memory. And in the lab, we have shown that if we block the ability of the adult brain to produce new neurons in the hippocampus, then we block certain memory abilities. And this is especially new and true for spatial recognition. So like how you navigate your way in the city. So we are still learning a lot, and they are not only important for memory capacity, but also for the quality of the memory. And they will have been helpful to add time about memory, and they will help differentiate very similar memory. Like, how do you find your bike that you park at the station every day in the same area, but in a slightly different position? And more interesting to my colleague Robert is the research we have been doing on neurogenesis and depression. So in animal model of depression, we have seen that they have a lower level of neurogenesis. And if we give antidepressants, then we increase the production of these newborn neurons, and we decrease the symptom of depression, establishing a clear link between neurogenesis and depression. But moreover, if you just block neurogenesis, then you block the efficacy of the antidepressant. So by then, Robert had understood that very likely his patients were suffering of depression even after being cured of their cancer, because the cancer drug had stopped the newborn neuron to be generated. And it will take time to generate new neurons that reach a normal functions. So collectively, now we think we have enough evidence to say that neurogenesis is a target of choice if we want to improve memory formation or mood, or even prevent their decline associated with aging or associated with stress. So activity impacts on neurogenesis, but that's not all. What you eat will have an effect on the production of new neurons in the hippocampus. So here we have a sample of diet, a nutrient that have been shown to have efficacy.
And now to conclude, so we are going to recap our experience of this demonstration of making the dishes. And what is important is to emphasize that we should eat as the Mediterranean pyramid emphasize that we should eat vegetables, grains, legumes, and fruits. And also, I think, grains, right? And what about nuts? I think nuts too. And on the second step is the fish. The fish, which is, what we did today. And I believe that we should eat according to this pyramid, especially vegetable. I believe it should be like 1 pound of vegetable every day. And what is crucial, I will say, is to have it by steam or cook. But I don't think that we should fry it. And the same it goes for the fish. The fish always should be just grilled. And we can, I would say, we can have also a glass of wine with the meal. And it has to be red wine. I just wanted to thank to the entire restaurant, El Brigate, for allowing us to demonstrate the preparation of these two dishes, and especially to the owner, Ms. Tejila. Thank you very much for your contribution for this noble cause. Thank you.